I'm going to have a southern accent.
I think that's great.
I would do.
I think it's fine. Just talk about France and cheese.
Parlez-vous français, y'all?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Brewdcast. I am, as always, Bud Robinson. With me tonight is the venerable town historian. How you doing, town?
I'm good, Bud. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I don't think anything happened this week, did it?
No, nothing relevant happened at all.
I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about.
What relevant did happen was one we recorded the other day, where we did NXT, a porn star.
Oh, burn. As it turns out, actually, that's a good segue into my announcement. Is I am retiring as CEO and chairman of WWA. I'm sorry, that was just an inexcusable mistake, and so I have to retire.
Were you ever CEO? I don't think you were CEO.
Can we pretend I was for the bit?
No, because history. Town knows history. So
yeah.
We're not.
I don't know that we ever had a CEO. We had commissioners. We had.
Well, we did. We did
GMs.
have a CEO. We did have a CEO. Because when Dear Leader left, he left the company to the three of us.
Okay.
But then we installed Rainville as the CEO, and he never did anything.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know why or how.
We just did.
We had a meeting once in like a fucking chat room. Like, oh my god, what was the chat room? It was that old fucking chat room in like 1999 that everybody used. Everybody thought was so Prodigy.
Oh my god.
It was a Prodigy chat with me and you and him talking about WWA. And we were trying to have like a serious conversation, and he would butt in like every once in a while with a really weird sentence. And for the record, that's still what he does in our chats.
Pretty much, yeah. 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 So we're going to talk about the thing?
Let's talk about the thing. The man that actually retired, the CEO.
Yeah.
Vinnie Mac called it. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Because
I thought this motherfucker's gonna die there.
Mm-hmm.
So part of me thinks that clearly his sexual escapades aren't good.
Yeah.
And they're not a good look. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly some of that money that he used to pay him off, he was going to get in trouble, so instead he just retired and called it a day. I think that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And he got to pick who's taking over for him. So Stephanie and Nick Khan are now the co-CEOs.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie's the chairwoman, and Triple H is back as, what is he, the head of talent relations?
I think he's CTO, actually. I just saw that.
I saw it. Where the fuck is it? I just was looking at it not so long. Executive Vice President of Talent Relations.
Oh, yes.
So, what happens? I guess this is my question. Does Stephanie decide and Nick Khan decide who's going to do creative, or do they give creative to somebody else? Is Triple H going to do creative?
I cannot see Stephanie wanting to do creative. I don't know that she ever has.
She did, though. She did creative for a while.
She did? Okay. Yeah, she was SmackDown for a while, wasn't she?
She wasn't bad at it.
Yeah.
But who do you put in charge of creative, I guess, and Brock Lesnar also walked out.
Really?
He said if Vince is gone, I'm gone, and he left SmackDown.
I mean, part of me is like, what the fuck? But the other part of me is like, that. I don't know. That's not a good look. Because I don't think Laurinaitis is there either. I don't know if he's left, but I know that.
No, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah. I know Triple H has taken over for him. And, like, it's just not a good look.
For Brock to leave?
Because I think Vince leaving. I think you're right. I think no matter how these allegations go, Vince doesn't look good as the CEO. I think the board came up to him and said, you can either leave or we can get rid of you. And one of those things is going to look better. And so he left. And Laurinaitis is gone for the same thing.
Yep.
The fact that Brock left because of that, it just doesn't look good. To me, anyway, as an outsider, maybe it is just a fit of loyalty and he's not going to be there because Vince is. But or maybe he, I don't know, there's a lot of different interpretations, but it doesn't, like, the timing does not look good.
I don't know. I mean, there's so many. Is Bruce Pritchard going to write the show tonight, or so, like, where do we go from here? Because you clearly have to finish the storylines they started.
Yeah.
But are we just going to keep the storylines in the same hands of the people that we have, or is somebody else going to step in? Is Triple H going to pick that up like he did in NXT, and we're going to see a Raw and SmackDown more like NXT, or is that not going to happen? Because I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see Triple H wanting creative. I think he was happy doing what he was doing at NXT, honestly.
He has been a climber his whole career and all the power he wanted. So I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he wants to.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that is a very fair point. But you're right. Who else do you put in that spot? You have access to guys like Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff and
you can't justify giving either of those guys that power.
Agreed, but they have before.
Well, they didn't, because Vince was always the last stop.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
And to unleash Paul Heyman with no buffer.
Yeah,
because Paul Heyman's a guy that might. You don't know what Paul Heyman's going to do because he has a lot of ideas.
Yeah,
and if you remove that Vince, not that would be bad. It's weird because he's just kind of been wrestling for our whole life.
Yeah.
And they've, without him, we're not where we are. As much as we can shit on him and be mad at him and say he was out of touch, because he was out of touch.
Yeah.
But without him, we're not here.
For better or worse. I think I've mentioned this before that the guys who came up on wrestling, the guys who are big right now, CM Punk and that's it. CM Punk, Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, those guys grew up on WWE. And like either they started working the indies because they couldn't, WWE didn't want them, or because they thought they could do better. Like in the case of John Morrison, like I think of that. And like that's why they're in the spot that they are. I totally agree with you. Again, for better or for worse, he is the reason that we are where we're at, because he had his finger on all of those things.
Don't you feel like WWE was kind of the doorway, though, for wrestling fandom? Like, it gets you in the door.
Yes.
And then you kind of branch out.
Mm-hmm.
And you see other shit, and you're like, wow, I like that better, or I like that better. Because WWE is always kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say vanilla, but you know what I'm trying to say.
It's the lowest common denominator, I think.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Like, that's how you get in. That's how you get into it, because they've always targeted, to some extent, kids. Because that's who they're trying to get hooked on it. Yeah. And those are the kids who...
Does that change? What do we do now? Like, I guess that's the thing is, he's pretty much had that iron fist rule over this company since 1983 or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah.
Is that now Stephanie McMahon? Or is that Nick Khan? Or is it both of them? And if it's both of them, they're never going to get along. It's not going to work because you don't have one person to answer to, you have two.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that Nick Khan would want anything to do with the creative sort of things.
I don't know about that.
I think Stephanie...
I don't know about that. I think Nick Khan has carved out a nice little spot for himself.
Yes. Yeah, I suppose so. I just... Like, his thing is... Like, he was brought in to at least from my understanding, to help with the business side of WWE, not so much with talent or creative. And I think Stephanie has more experience in that stuff.
I think that all kind of bled in, though, because I think if you look at the business side, the talent side's a big part of that business.
Yeah,
side.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Are we gonna, are we gonna get somebody in there that's gonna look at these guys that the fans go crazy for and decide that we need to get behind them, like a Zack Ryder or a Daniel Bryan or a guy like that they just drug their feet out or never did? Are we gonna have somebody in there who finally says, "Hey, Zack Ryder's getting a pop. Let's try to nurture that and see if we can build something"?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we just gonna be back to? Are we just gonna do what we're doing now? That's my big question. How much change are we gonna have? And how are we gonna, how are we gonna hit this direction? Because he's been creative in that company for longer than you and I have been alive.
It's true.
Everything he wanted, every little thing was from his brain, which is incredible if you think about it. It truly is. The shit he pulled off, Hulkamania, the Attitude Era. Even the mid-'90s with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, it's like he did all these different things, and he was able to just change with the times. But now he's gone.
Yeah.
And he was such a consistent, solid thing, but now it's like, I don't worry about the business side because they're going to be fine. They've got those really big TV deals and shit. You worry more about, are we going to see somebody come in here and get creative that is even less of a wrestling fan, that doesn't like wrestling at all and thinks are we going to get that, or are we going to get the opposite? Are we going to have, because this is a huge moment, because if they get somebody in there that's an actual wrestling guy and they pull somebody in and like they get some coherent storylines and they can like drum up some fan interest, their roster is better than AEW's.
Yeah.
Because they have more star power and they have like the cream of the crop workers. So like, if you got somebody in there with some knowledge, shit can be pretty exciting again.
Yes.
Like to the point where I suddenly have to start watching Raw. But is that what's going to happen, or are we going to get we're going to get more Bruce Pritchard? Like, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the flip side, is like you have a lot of guys in the back who are wrestling guys, but a lot of them are guys from the 80s, guys even from the 90s who are stuck in that sort of mindset. But you do also have Triple H. You have, Triple H has his guys that, given that Stephanie and Nick Khan can agree that he has the right ideas, he can put into different positions that will change the way TV is written.
So the only thing is part of the reason that they got rid of Triple H was Nick Khan. Those two like butted heads.
Okay.
So, and then when Vince wanted to take full control, and it's not that cut and dry, but when NXT lost to AEW, the blame went on Triple H through Nick Khan. So he was kind of like, well, it's his fault. His vision didn't work. We got to do something else. Vince was like, yeah. So is that going to happen again? Or like, what are we, or was it just, I have so many questions. I just do it. I don't know. If Brock Lesnar walked out and is not going to be at SummerSlam, good. I love Brock.
Yeah.
I love Brock. And I know Leon's not here, but he hates Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns is a really good heel.
Yeah.
And I think Roman Reigns is a really good wrestler. The problem with Roman Reigns is the way they're using him. So put somebody in that fucking ring at SummerSlam and have him lose the fucking belt. If Vince isn't there to... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's
do something exciting. Do something interesting.
Yeah, you have a whole blank slate. Let's go. Do I think they're going to do that? No, they're going to try to hold on to Brock the best they can. Yeah, he got pulled from SmackDown and he left the arena. So I think he might be done.
Interesting.
what does he do? What is he, and that's the thing, like, if he's not in WWE, he's not anywhere.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to be.
No, he's got enough money. Unless AEW's going to pay him a shit ton of money. Well, how do this could be a huge, but like he does not fit. What would you do with him in AEW?
That's what I'm thinking is they have Wardlow. Like I think that's what they're trying. I think that's what they're grooming Wardlow to be. I think they're grooming him to be their Brock Lesnar. And if you bring in actual Brock Lesnar,
yeah, I mean, what do you
you've kind of screwed the pooch there.
What do you do with him? I don't know. I imagine he'll get more money from WWE. Or maybe he just wants to work with Vince. Maybe Brock's ready to just not do it anymore.
Yeah.
Possible. It would be great if somebody got in there and started getting rid of the bullshit. Maybe we could use some different names. Would be my first thought.
Yeah. I mean, they have guys in there currently who... I mean, you have Kevin Owens, you have Seth Rollins, you have Roman Reigns. Like, you have this roster who have been poorly utilized, underutilized, in Roman's case, overutilized, that you can, like you said, they have an amazing roster. They can pull stuff together now.
They have the best roster in the world.
Yeah.
They really do. They have the most expensive, they have the best roster in the world, they have the most talent. As they should. They've been the biggest company, like, untested for 20 plus years.
Yes.
And we talk about how much AEW has grown in the past 3-4 years. They're not on WWE's level.
No.
And they have ways to go before they are.
Mm-hmm.
There's something totally different. And I think that's part of why Tony Khan's having success is because he's not trying to compete with them in what they're doing. He's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave you guys alone. Like when they had the John Cena celebration and they wanted the AEW guys.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Khan's just like, yep, go ahead, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like he's not trying to have a war with
It's not competition, for sure.
No, I think that's good.
I think the one thing that interests me about all of this, I think Vince McMahon is very much a WWE guy. If it came from anywhere else, he tended to shit on it, or he ignored it. Like, now that Vince is out of the picture, are we going to see either WWE try to overtake AEW, or are we going to see, potentially we could see WWE and AEW working together? TK has expressed that he would be more than happy to work with WWE.
I think that's great on paper. And that's like, oh my God, imagine what they could do together, but there's no way. There's no way. What are you going to do? Like, what matches would you have? Would you going to send Kenny Omega over there and they'll put him up against, who's Kenny Omega going to fight in WWE? You put him against Roman Reigns, and then WWE's going to be like, well, that's fine, but Roman can't lose. You just keep going, and WWE's like, well, that's fine, but that guy can't lose. So we're going to run a show where WWE just beats the shit out of AEW?
Yeah, I mean...
There's no way you could book that. There's no way. It would be such a political nightmare. Yeah.
But potentially no. Because you do still have those guys who are wrestling fans more than the fact than they are political players.
The wrestlers are fine. The wrestlers aren't the problem. The wrestlers aren't the problem.
What I mean is the guys in there are a lot of guys who play that political game, but if you get the right sort of setup in the back, you could potentially have something. Like, if you look at, even looking at NJPW and AEW, they both have their guys, and they were able to come to an agreement onto who is.
But here's the thing: when I'm in Japan, and I'm stars in Japan, and I go to America, and there's stars in America, if I come over here, I'm going to be way more willing to say, okay, I'm trying to get my guys into this country. We're trying to get that following. Okay, we'll work with you and put you over. Then if AEW comes to Japan, I guarantee you New Japan's going to win more of those matches. Easy to work that out. Or in your country, your fans, your guys should win. Okay, let's just make our guys look good. When you come together with WWE and AEW, we're fighting out of the same pot. So that whole idea of, if Kenny Omega beats Roman Reigns, well, then AEW is clearly better. But if Roman Reigns beats Kenny Omega, then WWE is clearly better, and there's no way, because those two are so entrenched, especially WWE. And I don't think that mindset's going to leave. Is Seth Rollins, who's basically badmouthed AEW every chance he can get and called them the minor leagues, is he going to want to, is he going to want to fight the Young Bucks and put one of the Young Bucks over? No, because he's above that. You know what I mean? Like a guy like Kevin Owens, sure, Kevin Owens gets it, or Sami Zayn. But some of these guys, then if I'm in charge, if I'm Bruce Pritchard, and I'm putting this show together, no, I'm not going to lose anything. We're better than you. And I think that's going to be the problem.
I will say, I can see a situation where it could happen. That having been said, there are the fans to contend with, right? I think you made a good point that the fans of WWE are very pro WWE and anti everything else, because that's how Vince has built it up. I don't even think
it's just fans. I think it's the people on backstage.
No, I agree. I agree. But that's the part that would need to change more than the people in the back. Like, you can switch people out in the back. You cannot change your fans. Your WWE guys who have been WWE guys for God knows how long, and they've been bad-mouthing everybody else, they're still going to be those... I mean, they're still going to be that toxic towards AEW, and they're not the ones that are going to go to AEW should they do a show together.
Yeah, WWE fans are pretty toxic right now.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They just are. I don't know. This opens up a whole new... But I don't think we're going to feel this effect for a little bit.
No.
I think this is just going to kind of be, they're going to run this as is because you can't change. But now do we suddenly say we're going to get behind, it's time for Drew McIntyre, it's time for this guy, it's time for that guy. Can Kevin Owens get another shot? Can fucking Finn Balor get his rematch for his championship that he lost? Can we bring Finn Balor back up? Because Finn Balor was fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But he got hurt. And Vince was like, nah, he gets hurt too much. We don't like him. I don't understand the Demon. Even though it was like one of the coolest things.
Yeah.
So, can we get some of those guys who we've shit on? But then the other problem with that is, we've spent multiple years shitting on these guys. How hard it's going to be to bring them back. Like a Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler's ruined.
Yeah.
Dolph Ziggler is a mid-card guy.
Yeah. For
life. And it's a shame because he's got just about everything. He's got the total package. But they never wanted to pull the trigger on him.
Mm-hmm.
His brother's hilarious in AEW too. But so do we see some of these guys? Do we see, are we going to see the changes in NXT? Are they going to start to bring in more indie guys? Are they going to what are they going to do? Are they going to double down and not do that?
I had heard somewhere that they were looking at indie guys for WWE tryouts or NXT Performance Center tryouts. I don't remember where I read that. That was a few weeks ago. But I was just like, why would they go? Now it makes more sense for them to go. Because now I think that they have more likelihood.
Because things could be worse for them, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Look at a guy like Ricochet. Like, Ricochet is amazing. He can't cut a promo. Like, I'm not going to say he can't, but he's so amazing in the ring, and it's like, they don't want to do anything with Ricochet.
Yeah.
And if he would have went to AEW, they would have done something with him.
Yeah.
He'd actually have a chance to have more than like a 3-minute crappy match. So I don't know.
Ironically, the thing that I had to talk about tonight before all of this Vince McMahon stuff came up, we were going to watch Tom McGee versus Bret Hart. And the thing that I got away from that match was it's sort of like a perfect... The fact that Vince was so high on Tom McGee, like it's a perfect look into what sports entertainment was then and is currently.
Still. Yeah.
It's not about the wrestling. It's about the promos, the drama, and the characters.
The look. It's about the look.
Exactly. And so now you have all of these guys who fit one of two molds. You have the guys who are wrestlers, like Finn Balor, like Seth Rollins, like Kevin Owens. And then you have these guys who were groomed by WWE who, they can't really, they can't wrestle on the same level as Finn Balor. what do you do about that? Like, especially now. Yeah, Vince would have just been like, well, this is the guy we're hyping now. But that's why you and I turn to AEW, because we don't care as much about the drama. Like, Thunder Rosa can't cut a promo, but we watch her because she...
Wait, no, time out. When you talk about drama, we do care about drama.
Yes.
But the drama that we care about gets created in the ring.
Yes.
More so than it gets created with a weird promo. Or a weird backstage thing that makes no sense.
Or a goofy swerve.
Or I'm told that I'm supposed to think this way.
Yes.
So I think drama, I think they both have drama. I think it's just different levels of drama.
It's different kinds of drama, I think.
Yeah. They have a style. They definitely have a style of worker that is, it's all about look and size.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like Jim Cornette. I've talked about Jim Cornette way too much this week, but I don't care, because Jim Cornette, in his mind, big always beats small. And if small beats big, it's stupid. And that mentality that's an 80s mentality. And I think Vince has that mentality. Once in a while, he'll let the underdog win, but I think that's the problem with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just put Omos out there and say he's really tall.
Yeah.
Because, he's really tall, but he can't work.
Yeah.
Or the guys that used to be with Jinder Mahal, Shanky or Shankly, whatever his name is. You probably don't know who he is.
Not a clue.
He's just this big fucking guy. He's like 6'8". He's this huge guy. And they just pushed him as a monster with nothing. Well, then they decided that they were tired of him, and now he dances like an idiot. So you have this guy who's this big monster. And that's the other thing. Like, Braun Strowman was built as the perfect monster.
Mm-hmm.
And they fucked it. How do you fuck that up?
More than once.
How do you fuck that up? Just, oh my fucking God. Ryback. Like, fucking Ryback, dude. Do you remember how over he was?
Yeah, he was huge.
Granted, I credit CM Punk for a lot of that.
Yeah.
But, he went there, he lost to Punk, and then he went to WrestleMania. I remember he went to Mania after all that, and he lost to Mark Henry because Mark Henry fell on his head. I remember watching it, why did Ryback not just destroy Mark Henry and then move on to this day? You know what I mean? And then they turned him heel, and then they fed him to Cena, and then he was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
They destroyed Ryback, and Ryback's insane. But, you have these guys, and you build them up, and then it's like you just pull the legs off from underneath them. They do it to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They did it to Moxley.
Yeah.
They totally did it to Moxley.
Yes. God.
They did it. They do it to everybody. They didn't do it to Seth Rollins. Initially, they did it when he turned face.
Mm-hmm.
That Fiend shit. They did it to the Fiend. They need somebody in there. If you want a star, you got to make a star. You got to stick to a star. When I watch WWE and I listen to the pops, they're kind of and then I watch AEW and fucking Orange Cassidy gets a huge pop.
Yeah.
You know why Orange Cassidy gets a huge pop? First of all, he's cool. Second of all, holy fuck, Tony Khan built him up.
Yes.
He made Orange Cassidy matter. It's not just a novelty act. It's that's one of our guys.
But they're building organically, right? Whereas WWE is not.
Force. It's all force.
Yes. WWE's thing is, we like this guy. Show him every segment.
We have this what happened in the late 90s was because WCW was kicking ass so bad, and they were. They were 95, 96, 97. They were killing WWE.
Yes.
It wasn't even close. So suddenly Vince McMahon couldn't just be like, we're going to make this guy a star. And I think it started with Lex Luger in 94, where they decided they were going to make him a star, and then it came down to Luger and Hart, where they both won the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And Vince McMahon's like, well, we're going to say they both won and see what kind of crowd reaction they get. And Luger gets it, and they kind of go, oh, okay. And they say Bret Hart won, and the place goes insane. Okay, so Bret Hart's our guy.
Yeah.
And I think that was when they started because they had to.
Mm-hmm.
Does Steve Austin get over? Steve Austin doesn't get over. He got over on his own, but Vince McMahon isn't going to look at Steve Austin and be like, that's the guy. He was looking at Rocky Maivia, Chia Pet on his head, smiling at all the kids. You know, like
Yeah.
that's what he wanted. He didn't want Austin. So just the fans kind of went and they had to follow it because otherwise they wouldn't be in business.
Mm-hmm.
And when they lost WCW, they don't. We don't have to do that anymore. We can do what the hell we want. John Cena's a face. He's a good guy. You're going to cheer him. And then everybody boos him. And they just run with it for 10 years and don't care,
Yeah.
Or Roman Reigns, same thing. Like, dude, if WCW was around, would Roman Reigns have gotten all those chances at WrestleMania? Or would they pull the trigger and turn him heel?
It's a good question.
They would have pulled the trigger and turned him heel a lot fucking quicker.
Yeah.
Because they would have been like, oh shit, this isn't working. Because that would have killed their ratings. Because they would have been like, fuck this shit. We're not watching this guy. Let's go turn on WCW.
Yeah.
So I think that, the problem with the Attitude Era was it was so fucking crazy. It never could have continued.
Yeah.
We were at a point where we couldn't do anything anymore. And because we went so far. And then we tried to push that envelope, and we got Katie Vick.
God.
And I think that they had to pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard numerous people say, the problem that we had in the Attitude Era and what everybody kept saying that knew the business was, holy shit, if you keep pushing this envelope, somebody's gonna die. And then Owen Hart obviously died, but like somebody's gonna die doing this shit, and then what do you do?
Yeah.
And so they had to pull it back, but they got WCW and they took it over, and they had no competition. They had nothing to push them. So the ebb and flow of this business, which WCW changed in 95, 96, where they kind of changed the direction of the business instead of WWE, they were gone. There was nobody else to change that business, and Vince McMahon just wanted to do this. He just wanted to coast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair...
We're gonna make money. I'm gonna tell you who the stars are. I'm gonna make this just as easy as it was in the 80s. I don't want to make this too hard. I don't want to make this too complicated. Let's just we'll gear towards kids. We'll get cartoons again. We'll try to do all that shit. We'll just back like that. And the 90s never happened.
Yeah.
So I just, as bad as WCW was at the end, and as poorly ran as it was, it did change a lot when they went out of business.
Yeah. Yeah, and WWE...
Impact was never a challenge.
No. I don't think they ever would have been. No, and I don't think WWE really cared about competition at that point. I think they were looking to entrench themselves in a way that made it so that they couldn't, basically so that they are in the spot that they're at right now, that they cannot fail. They're too big to fail at this point.
They are.
People are going to keep tuning in. Well,
their ratings suck, but they have enough money and they do good enough.
Yeah.
That people are gonna. That core audience is enough to swing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what happens. I don't know if they, Tony Khan's he's a business guy. Are we going to cut more people? Is that what we're going to do? Are we going to get rid of there's just people on there? You know what I mean? Are we going to hire some indie guys to try to get some people in there that can work? Because if I want a 5-star match, I'm not going to WWE.
No.
They're not going to give me one. AEW will. Every AEW pay-per-view, there's a really good chance you're going to have a 5-star match.
Yes.
Every WWE pay-per-view, there's a chance you're going to be like, this sucks. So how do you change that? And I, if I was in that spot and I was running, if I got the creative job, I'd be like, hey, we don't have to run an event every month. There's no fucking reason anymore for us to do that because we're not on pay-per-view. We're going to get this money either way because we have the network. Why don't we cut back a little bit? Why don't we give a little time to build shit? Why don't we put a little more into that, We don't need that every month. And some months they have 2 and it's just like, you just turn around and you're just like, oh my God, that's terrible.
I don't want to watch the second one. Thank you very much.
I don't want to watch the first one.
And I also think that's a good point that they have all of these pay-per-views and they don't need them all. And the other side of that is you're exhausting the fans by having that much programming, and not even just pay-per-views, like the weekly television that they have. You're exhausting
5
the
hours.
fans, but you're also exhausting your talent. And then they have to retire at the age of 32 because, you've run them into the ground.
I think they're better at that than they were. In the 80s and 90s, they really killed their talent. But now I think it's more of their talent gets put on TV doing stupid shit and loses all value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, send them home.
Well, get Raw to not be 3 hours. That'd be step one. I think.
Like a few years ago, I was thinking about that. I was like, you could book Raw in an hour. Like I had watched an episode of it, and I'm like, this could have been an hour. This did not even need to be 2 hours, because the amount of actual wrestling that they have, baseline, like it's the minimal
20
amount.
minutes.
Yeah,
20 minutes, probably on average in 3 hours. Yeah,
I think that's my hope, is that no matter what they do with the programming, is that they have more wrestling and less stupid shit, because the stupid shit is what kills it. The stupid backstage promos and stuff. Like,
I was so out of touch with wrestling from like 2007. Well, 2011 I came back as a Punk, but I only kind of came back probably like 2015, 2016. Then I got back into it a little bit. I started watching some NXT. And I really liked NXT, and then I started watching, like AEW came in, and I was like, is this, what is this going to be? And then I saw Chris Jericho was going to be there, and suddenly I'm like looking at this roster of AEW, and I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who half these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
No clue. But I'm like, I'm interested in this, and I watched their free show. They had a free show, and I watched it, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just, it wasn't just one style.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a crazy hardcore match. I saw a technical match. I saw a high-flying tag team match. I saw a brawl. I saw all these different things. You hit so many different pieces of the market. Whereas opposed to WWE, it's what every match is going to be.
Yeah.
Because they're all put together the same fucking way, and there's nothing different on them.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of my hope, is they get some more styles in there,
mm-hmm.
Because even like Rey Mysterio is a high-flying luchador, but he's a high-flying luchador that just wrestles your average WWE match. Or like Ricochet can do all this shit, and Finn Balor can do all this shit, and you just like tie him into this one style of match, and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same fucking. You watch the same fucking match. If you watch WrestleMania and you watch the last 3 matches that are all the big marquee matches, they're all the same. There's no difference to them.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed, I remember when we watched the last AEW show, Forbidden Door, the last 3 matches were completely fucking different across the board.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they're missing. And that's what they used to have. You look at WrestleMania 3 with Hogan and Andre, which was like a sports entertainment clusterfuck of just like awfulness.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a spectacle. But right before that, you had Savage and Steamboat, which is legitimately one of the greatest matches ever. And they had a really good tag team match. They had all this, everything was just a little different. And at some point, they just kind of morphed into this ball of, here's our match. Every match is the same. Work our style. Don't do anything different.
Yeah.
So, and in that, I don't know. There's hope. I guess you can't understand what Vince McMahon did.
Of course not.
Because he changed the business, and he's the father of modern pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
It's without him, we're not here, But this is a prime example of somebody just hanging on a little bit too long and losing touch, and if this AEW battle gets more intense, and AEW picks up more steam, and AEW starts, let's say AEW suddenly gets a show on Monday night, it's going to happen. And I think and that's they're going to, because I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like realistically, if TBS or TNT was like, "We'll let you on Monday night, we want to go head to head with Vince," okay, would Vince have been ready to go head to head with them, or would Vince? No, and that's what I mean, because he wasn't ready to go head to head with WCW.
Yeah.
And I think I think he's at a point now in his life where he's even less ready than he was in the 90s.
Yeah.
Because he's so stubborn and so stuck in his own ways. So I think, I don't know, I guess it all depends on where they take this, but like this is a huge moment for professional wrestling in a lot of ways.
Yeah, because it could definitely be, the changing of the guard and everything changes and is different in WWE. Or it could wind up being a lot of the same.
Be worse.
Or worse. And my hope is that they have put in enough guys who worked the indies for long enough, and who have been doing who have been wrestling, right? Like guys like Triple H, guys like Seth Rollins, like Cody Rhodes, these guys who understand wrestling. My hope is that they have enough of those guys who are willing to speak their mind, and they change the product. And it's not going to be huge. They're not going to switch to, they're not going to switch to the AEW style tomorrow. They're not going to do any of that. But
I don't think
they can find a way to change their current style into something that's more interesting. And I don't know what that looks like, but
I would be a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
I would be a huge fan of that. I'm all for more good wrestling.
And the thing is, like, you can't just say, and they might do this, but my hope is that they don't just say, well, you have all of these stars, Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You have these guys who you've been building up for this many years. Let's put them at the top, but we're not going to change how our matches look. We're not going to change how our shows look. We're not, they have to change. In order for that show to be interesting, it can't be one thing. They can't change who they're hiring and not anything else. They have to change the whole thing. The look.
The way the announcers announce.
The format of the shows.
Everything. Yeah, everything needs to change. But I don't know if they'll do that. I mean, who the hell knows what they're going to do?
It's a lot of work. I mean, it could net them a lot of money. But they already have a lot of money. So, there's not a whole lot of incentive for them to do that. They're already the top.
Well, they are, but their numbers aren't as good as they could be.
Yeah.
I guess my one concern right now, though, is we go the opposite way. And we get too many people in there trying to make their own call. Business people, not wrestling people, that want to have ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, was Jim Herd in WCW?
Yeah.
Who wanted Ric Flair to be Sparkus and shave his hair.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to have the ding-dongs. Wrestlers with hunchbacks. Shit like that. That's a concern you have to have, too.
Yeah.
Are we going to get too many people in, and are we going to go the opposite way? So that's the beauty of having one voice in there. That's the beauty of having one guy make that call. That's part of why AEW works. Is Tony Khan now. He listens to people and he works with people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, who's the one making the call?
He's the booker. He's the guy who's making the call. You're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
So, and he's got the overarching picture of what's going on. So what happens when suddenly WWE has a group of guys? Well, we're going to put 5 guys in charge of that.
No.
It's not going to work. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm curious to see. Can they get these lapsed fans back? I guess is another question, because us, you and me and Leon in Russia, we used to eat, sleep, breathe, live, and die that company.
Yeah.
Literally, we watched pay-per-views, we did everything. We watched it constantly, we always talked about it. And then, for as much as that was such one of the biggest parts of my life for so long, and then it left, and then I was like, I don't miss it because it sucks. How do you get a fan like you or me that's been disgruntled since 2007 with the product? How the hell do you get them back? Because I'm sitting here and I'm like, what's going to make me want to watch that show? Yeah. I don't have an answer.
I mean, I do. I think the only thing that I could see, at present, I don't think there's any way I see people who want to watch AEW's programming are going to switch to WWE. I think they would have to find some way to say, okay, also watch our stuff. Which is doable, but like WWE has so much goddamn programming. Like I think back to the time you're talking about WWE, and
2 hours of Raw.
As much as I loved Steve Austin, I loved The Rock, I loved basically that entire roster. I loved watching all of them. And if one of them had gone somewhere else, I wouldn't have bothered to watch them because there was still this giant roster. And part of the reason why I came back to WWE for a while was because of CM Punk. And it wasn't really because of anybody else. So when he left, I was like, I'm done with the product. I don't want to watch this anymore. And I think that's where they're at. Like, they're at a point where I'm okay not watching Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar or Seth Rollins or Kevin Owens. If those guys end up in AEW, cool. I will watch them. I will love them. But AEW has an amazing roster right now. Every single match is exciting, interesting. It has its own feel. Like, there are some matches where I just go, I don't really feel like watching this. It's kind of boring. I've seen this 100 times before, but it's still an interesting match. It's not that it's a bad match. It's because it's just not my thing right in that moment. And I think,
that's the problem, though.
Yeah.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the biggest problems that they have is they have too much fucking programming.
Yes.
NXT needs to go off of USA. It needs to go back to the network.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be watched by just a few people, especially when it's this bad. It is fucking bad.
The fewer the better.
And like SmackDown used to be an hour and a half and Raw was 2 hours.
Yeah.
And I never watched SmackDown because I didn't get UPN. So now it's just like, I don't know, 3 hours of Raw. I don't think there's a way to do it, but that's what killed WCW was the 3 hours.
Well, we talked about Impact earlier, and I think that they have really, they were TNA for so long, and they were getting these big deals, and they had a following, but it wasn't enough. And so when people started talking about bankruptcy or getting sold to so and so, they just scaled everything back and they focused on wrestling, and that's really worked for them.
Yeah, Impact really missed. I remember when they started on the pay-per-view, and I remember Leon got one. He actually got it like 3 weeks in a row, and he brought the tapes over, and I watched the tapes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bad.
Yeah.
It was just like Vince Russo to the max.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was so buddy-buddy with Jeff Jarrett, and you just watch it, and you just go, oh my god, this is fucking cringe. And the wrestling wasn't bad. Yeah. But it also wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
It was no different than WWE, and it was just like WWE light, but like worse.
Yeah.
And they never ever broke out of that.
No, they didn't.
I tried to watch them on was it Spike they were on or whatever?
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I tried to watch them on Spike a little regularly, and it was bad. And then the night when Bret Hart came back was the same night Hogan debuted on TNA, and they went on Monday night. And I was in Wausau because that's when I was living in Ohio. I was in Wausau. I went over to Rainbow's house and we watched it. And we're watching Bret Hart come back, which is an absolute mindfuck.
Yes.
Because you're like, Bret Hart is back, and it was really cool. And then we flip to the other channel, and it's like, oh, hey, look, it's the Nasty Boys. Oh, hey, look, it's Val Venus.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, what the fuck? This is terrible. So their idea was just to bring back all of Hulk Hogan's old friends, and it was just like, this is... Nothing on that show was different. It was just bad. Like, it was comical. And that was it. They were done. They had no shot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's their problem now still. Is they got pigeonholed, and nobody's going to put serious effort into watching them just because of the way that worked. Well, they've got some good workers. They're doing some good stuff over there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to knock them. Like, I think they're better than they were, but they're not on AEW's level.
Yes, that's true. But that's kind of my point, is that I think WWE is they are running that path. They are running the path of being WWE light, let's just say. Like WWE as we remember it in maybe the aughts. And if they backed up and focused more on wrestling, they might get some of us back. They might get some of us wrestling guys back.
It would help. It's hard, but it's also hard when you go in there and everybody starts to like a guy. Like Daniel Bryan, when he got hot, everybody liked him. He won the championship from Cena. They immediately beat him. And then they just tried to push him back down the card. Like, he had his moment. He was champion for 2 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, wait, no, fuck you. We want that.
Yeah.
And they fought it the whole time. And their idea literally was, well, you don't care about Daniel Bryan. We'll just have Batista win the Royal Rumble and fight Randy Orton at Mania because that's a bigger Mania main event. And the crowd again is like, well, no, time out. Fuck you. We don't want that. And they just, they're so out of touch with that fan base. You know, they have been for so long.
Maybe that's the answer, is that if they focus more on what their fans want. Vince didn't care what the fans wanted. Like, he paid lip service, and he would come out and he would say, I'm going to give you what you want. But he didn't care. He didn't care.
No, because he had his own vision of what it should be, and he knew what a star was, and we didn't. And he basically was trying to tell us, this is who you should like, this is who you should not like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just such a weird. I read that today and I was like processing it because it's very. I don't know the wrestling business without that man, and neither do you. Like, we literally don't. Everything that ever wrestling wise has been fed to us. Mm-hmm. He's been around for it, and he's in some way or another shaped that thing. And he, either people are programming against him, or they're taking an idea he had, or it's something that he stole from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's just been at the center of everything, and now he's gone. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think at 77, I think it's time to really say, hey, yeah, I'm done. Let's let somebody else do this, because clearly I don't know what the fuck. But he would never say that. So, how long is he gonna live?
I don't know.
Is this his? I'm leaving, and then he's just gonna die in a couple months, because that's what happened to his dad. His dad held on to the bitter end, quit, and died 9 months later.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what Vince is gonna do? Because some of these old guys that get hooked up into that, they stay and they fight and they fight and they fight, and then they finally retire, and it's like they lose their will to live because they're not doing what they were doing, and then they fucking die. Is that gonna happen to them? I hope not.
This conversation suddenly took a very strange turn.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. I'm still blown away that Ric Flair's career has lasted longer than Vince McMahon's.
That's a mind fuck too.
Oh,
I
God.
don't know. I don't know what to do with it. It's such a. There's so many unknowns.
Yeah.
Because it literally just popped. But I guess apparently he decided to do it 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And they just finally released it publicly, so he's clearly been planning for it. I don't know. I don't know who's going to do creative. Unless he's not retiring from creative. But that's not the way I read it.
Yeah, and I think the way that they phrased it on their corporate website leads me to believe that if he does come back in creative, there might be some issues with that. But who knows? It's in Vince. Honestly, when I read that headline, I was like, yeah, so Vince McMahon, the character, is retiring. Sure. And then I actually clicked on it and I was like, oh shit, really? He's actually going.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's a lot to process.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process because it's. Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
And he might wind up being one of those guys who just still comes to the office and tries to run things.
I think the people in charge of the company are going to try to fight that to keep him away. I think the goal is to have him not there right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, right now in particular.
We'll see. We'll see. They're at a crossroads as a company. I mean, their money is high.
Mm-hmm.
Their fan base is lower than it's been in a long time. You know, they were, in the mid '90s, they were bad. The early, like '93 to '95, WWE was awful. And then they started to get some momentum there in '96, '97, and they're basically what happened was their fan base grew up. We became older, and we weren't interested in plumbers and garbage men. We were interested in other stuff. And they went to the Attitude Era off of that, and boom, away we went. But now do we go back? I guess I don't know where they're going to go. Like, I can't see a clear direction for this company as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to, like I said, are we going to bunker down and are we going to go even deeper into the bullshit that we're already doing, or are we going to bust out of that and go more wrestling? Or are we going to, I don't know. I don't know. Because we've said, and I've said personally, I have said, he's out of touch and needs to go. And he's gone now.
Yeah.
And my issue now is he's gone. Who's taking that spot? And are they going to be worse? Because if they're worse, then what do you do?
Yeah, because they have not always made the best calls as far as who to put in creative.
No, and it's not like we're, the past 3-4 years of wrestling fandom have been insane.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was nothing, and then it just, AEW came, and everything exploded, and there's this company, all these little companies started having more success. Like, literally, the indies exploded.
Mm-hmm.
And Japan got big over here, and, like, all this shit happened. And now it's like, I don't need WWE.
Yeah.
And if they're not going to give me what I want, well, fuck them, I want to watch them. That's where I've been, and that's where you've been.
Yeah.
That's where Leon's been. Like, how do you come back from that? You start giving the people what they want, okay. But, you could say that, and you could start to book some things that I'm interested in. But my fear of that is if I start watching, they're just going to fuck it up and fuck me over somehow.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about that company, though.
Yes,
bud.
No, I agree with you.
I watch it with these grandiose ideas of how amazing this is going to be. Shinsuke Nakamura wins the Royal Rumble. The dude's over as shit. And he loses to fucking AJ Styles. What the fuck are you doing?
Because Vince doesn't get it.
Asuka comes in, same year. Asuka wins the Rumble. She's killing fucking everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlotte makes her tap out clean in the middle of the ring. What the fuck are you doing? What are you fucking doing? And I'm so tired of watching WrestleMania and just having that feeling of, what the fuck? Or you watch the main event and it's Roman Reigns and they're acting like he's a hero and he's just getting booed out of the building and you're just sitting there like, this is so bad. It's so ungodly bad. What the fuck are they doing? And I'm so tired of, like, legitimately tired of dealing with that shit with them. And I watch AEW and I don't have that. Like, I'm not critical of it. Maybe I should be, but I'm not, because it's just not, And then you just watch WWE and it's like, what the fuck? This is offensive. It's making me feel like I'm an idiot.
I mean, to be fair, we are critical of AEW, but not in the same way. Because I think AEW...
I'm way more critical of WWE. But yes. I've watched WWE longer and I expect better out of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's truly what it is.
Yeah.
And when they're just pulling this dog shit out and doing these stupid things, it's just like, you're better than this. What the fuck are you doing? But that's hard. It's so fucking hard to watch a WWE pay-per-view. And I can't remember the last time I watched Monday Night Raw. It has literally been fucking probably 2014.
Same.
I mean, I think I watched a little bit because of Bryan Danielson. But like other than that, like it's just like, what happened? And do I even want to come back?
I think
part of me does because I'm nostalgic for it, but it's like, I'm not going to come back for nothing. I'm not going to come back just because of your name. You've got to do something. You've got to give me something.
Yeah.
You've got to make me want to watch, because there isn't a single person in WWE that gets me 1/18 as excited as Orange Cassidy's theme music does.
It's fair.
True, though.
I mean, we see... the two names that pop into my mind right now are Shinsuke Nakamura and Asuka. But I know they're being poorly booked in WWE, so I don't want to watch them there. I know they're amazing talents, but I would rather see them... Honestly, I would rather see them in NJPW and Stardom. Like, I don't want to watch them in WWE. Because they're getting utilized as WWE talent, and they are not that. I mean, they are now, but...
That's the problem, is I just, you know... I don't know what happened, but it's just like... These guys leave and they go somewhere else, and then you watch them and you're like, holy shit, look at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan freaking Danielson leaves the WWE and goes and has a match in AEW, and his first match, you're just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
You forgot how good he was, because they had him doing this stupid shit. You know, he couldn't be a killer there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's a killer. Now it's just like, damn. You know,
true.
or like CM Punk. Granted, he was gone for a long time, but he comes back and you're like, you forgot how good of a wrestler he was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Buddy Murphy.
Yes. Oh my God.
Dude's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, but
you wouldn't be able to tell from WWE.
No. And there's a lot of other guys. A lot of these 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
2.0 got fired from NXT. They go to AEW. Why would you ever fire those two fucking guys? They're incredible.
FTR.
Oh God!
I mean, there's the pinnacle right there.
They tried to keep them, but the FTR was like, yeah, no thanks. We're gonna just go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They're missing on everybody, and they're going with people where it's like, what the fuck? What do you see in this person that I don't see? It's really hard to just. I don't know. I guess my hope right now is that he's gone. He's retired. They're going to come in. They're going to have a change of pace. They're going to change some shit up. They're going to look at this and go, okay, we've got to change some things up.
Mm-hmm.
We're not hitting any of the target audiences we want to hit. Our product is not hot. It's not. It's just ice cold. Nothing they're doing is fantastic. They have no momentum anywhere. They're just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're literally just there. The only thing that they have is old stars that they bring back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they need to pop a number, they bring back Bill Goldberg. Goldberg. Who's now like 22 years away from his prime.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what was the best part of WrestleMania this year? You probably didn't even watch it. The best part of WrestleMania, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh yeah.
Who's almost 60.
Mm-hmm.
Had his final match. You know, how do you go into WrestleMania and make that happen and don't have none of your new guys do shit? Like, how did we get here? We didn't build any stars. We didn't do anything we were supposed to do, and the product is shit. And here's your chance.
Yeah.
Get somebody in there to turn it around. But man, I don't know. I'm not holding my breath.
I mean, I think they need to listen to fans, and I think they need to cut the pettiness. Which, hopefully, that's gone with Vince. The whole like, I'm not going to push this guy because he didn't shake my hand. Fuck off with that. Like, I mean, there's still guys that think that way, that are employed by WWE, but the hope is that that's not going to affect the way they do business anymore.
It's almost like they're elitist.
Yeah.
Like, they think they're better than everybody because they're the biggest company. But I'm just curious. I'm really curious to see what happens. I'm going to be curious to see who gets that head of creative.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be key. That's going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Triple H wouldn't be bad. You know, Road Dogg wouldn't have been bad. Shawn Michaels wouldn't have been. There's guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that'd be good. But if it's just going to be Bruce Pritchard and they're just going to keep that same old shit, well then yeah. I mean, Bruce Pritchard calling all the shots would probably be even worse than Vince.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, you can be smart about the business, but still not know what you're talking about in the modern day, you know?
Antiquated.
Yeah.
That's the word I like. He's antiquated. His ideas are antiquated. He's stuck a little bit behind the times. His ideas are 1992.
Mm-hmm.
If you brought the Reblow Man back, I'd pop for that, though, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I just... This is a pretty big day. It's a pretty big day. Whether or not it's good remains to be seen. That's just kind of out there a little bit.
All I hope is that I get to keep watching AEW. That's all I really care about.
Yeah. It'd be nice if WWE was an alternative and actually had something you could watch.
Yeah.
Because it'd be nice to turn on, like, WrestleMania and not be like, well, this sucks.
They spend money on this. Fuck this.
Everything is bad. But I don't know. I worry about that too, though, because, like, all the internal pressure they get now for the network from, like, Peacock, everything is getting so whitewashed, which I understand. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not opposed to that. Like, some of the shit that happened, you know, but if we're going to look at the Attitude Era and we're going to try to make it fit into the confines of what's acceptable today, all the shit that was exciting about the Attitude Era goes away, because part of the Attitude Era was being vulgar.
Yeah.
You know, the vulgarity and the inappropriateness of it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I think there's a way to build a product that looks similar to AEW, but is still PG. I think it's doable. I just don't know necessarily how.
I want it to be AEW. I want it to be the WWE, but I want it to be better.
Yeah.
I want them to actually... It amazes me because if you watch WrestleMania, and when you watch WrestleMania, it's like you have a feeling... There's this feeling about you about how big this show is. And that has gone away. I remember watching WrestleMania 15, WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 25, WrestleMania 30. There's just a big feel, and now I turn it on and I'm just like, meh.
Yeah, I'm
this
good.
Is stupid. You hit the nail on the head a while ago when you said they need to change everything. The look of the show, the way the show is put together, the fucking set, the announcers, like everything needs to just get shuffled. But I don't know if they're going to do that. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, though.
I mean,
I'll read about it. I probably won't watch
it. Same. We'll see if I actually even read about it. I don't know.
And maybe it'll get good. Maybe we're about to eat crow. Which I'd be fine with. I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
A capable WWE would be great. Because if they pull up and they start to get more ratings, AEW's going to get pulled up. They're going to get more ratings. AEW's going to have to work a little harder. Like, it's going to improve everything. Then Impact has to do a little more. MLW has to do a little more. New Japan can start to do a little more. Good.
Yeah. Good for the business.
Well,
I would agree.
We will see, bud.
Yeah. This has been the Brewdcast. We've been talking about Vince McMahon, and he went home.
He's gonna have a nice soup and sandwich lunch and take a nap.
Goddamn kids!
Get off my lawn.
So I have been Bud Robinson. This has been Town Historian. That's your new name, by the way. I don't know if you caught on to that.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time. God bless Orange Cassidy.
God bless Orange Cassidy. All hail Danhausen.
Yes. I don't have a good thing for Eddie Kingston, but he's my guy.